All right, Panthers, today's topic is equivalent ratios. We're going to put this in your notebook, so get your notebook out. Go to your table of contents. And you can see my date was 9/13/2020. Title is Equivalent Ratios. Notice I'm on page 7. So the last notes we did here on ratios, they started on page 5, but it took me 2 pages. So the next time I have room is on page 7. So equivalent ratios is on page 7. So make sure you're keeping up with your page numbers and keeping your table of contents accurate. All right, once you get to whatever page you're on in your notebook for equivalent ratios, write equivalent ratios at the top and copy down this sentence. You can multiply or divide the numerator and denominator by the same number to make equivalent ratios. Same thing as equivalent fractions. So if you're familiar with equivalent fractions, this will be the exact same. Pause the video if you need to until you get this copied down. You can multiply or divide the numerator and denominator by the same number to make equivalent ratios. After you copy it down, we're going to practice a couple examples of this that will be just like the quiz at the end of the module. I'm about to erase this, so pause the video if you need to catch up and copy it down. Okay, let's work through a couple examples of equivalent ratios. So in the quiz, I might have something like a ratio of 7 to 16 is equivalent to a ratio of 21 to blank. All right, let me show you what we're going to do. So in this case, since the blank is over here on this side, I'm kind of looking, how did I get from this number to this number? When I do this, I always put arrows because you'll see sometimes we want to go to the right, sometimes we're going to go back to the left. So my arrow is going this way to the right. Now to get from 7 to 21, as long as you realize, oh, that's 3 times bigger, to keep the ratio equivalent, this must be 3 times bigger. So 16 times 3, and what is 16 times 3? And I got to figure that out. 48. And that's what goes in the blank. So if you had a ratio of maybe you were making a recipe and it called for 7 ounces of this and 16 ounces of this, if you're going to triple the recipe, that means you need 21 ounces of this and 48 ounces of that. And that's how you create the equivalent ratios. Pause the video if you need to. I'm going to keep erasing and keep doing more examples. Next example. All right, let's say we have blank over 7 is equivalent to 35 over 49. Okay, so I mentioned which way to put the arrows. This time, I want to go this way to get what's in that blank. So this one I'm going this way. So the arrow's coming back like this. Now, if you want to change 49 into 7, you don't multiply going back this way. This way you divide. So 49 divided by what would give you 7? 49 divided by 7 gives you 7. That means I need to do the same for the numerator. If I divide the denominator by 7, divide the numerator by 7. So 35 divided by 7 is 5. So a 5 to 7 ratio is the same as a 35 to 49 ratio. And that's all there is to it with equivalent ratios. Again, it's the same exact rule as equivalent fractions. Let's do, I think we've got 3 more examples. Yeah, 3 more examples. And this is just like the quiz at the end of the module. So at the end of the module, there might be a quiz question like this. It might say 9 to 6 is equivalent to blank to 30. And so, this time I'm trying to get to the blank that's this way, so I'm going to put the arrow going this way. So to go from there to there, we're going to multiply by 5. That means this should be multiplied by 5 as well. That's how I know that 45 is the answer. So, let's say there are 2 basketball players. One scored 9 points and the other scored 6 points. If I let them play longer, by the time this player's got 30 points, this player probably will have 45 points. A 9 to 6 ratio is equivalent to a 45 to 30 ratio. 2 more examples. And again, at the end of the module, there might be a quiz question. It might be something like this. 50 to 28 is equivalent to 250 to blank. Okay, so when we do the arrows, are the arrows going to go from left to right, or are they going to go right to left? So in this example, we're trying to get from this number to this number. So we're going left to right. So how did I get from this one left to right? So it looks like I multiplied 50 to get bigger. So a couple tricks here. You could take off the 0 and take off the 0. How many times would you multiply 5 by to get to 25? 5 times 5 is 25, so no, it's times by 5. Or you could count in your fingers by 50, so you could go 50, 100, 150, 200, 250. There's 5 of them to get to 250. So I know that this is multiplied by 5, so that means this must be multiplied by 5. So if you don't know what 28 times 5 is, then come down here and figure out 28 times 5. Looks like it's going to be 140, and that's how I know that the blank is 140. Last example for equivalent ratios coming up. Email me if you have any questions or concerns with this, or if you look at the Canvas lesson, there's lots more resources that will talk about equivalent ratios. But if you understand what we're doing here in the notes so far, it's pretty easy to understand. I hope you do. You'll definitely pass the quiz if you do. If not, check out those other resources or send me an email. Okay, in this case, are we going to go from left to right with our arrows or from right to left? So since the blank is on this side, we want to go from right to left with the arrows. So if we want to get from 16 to 4, we need to divide 16. What do we divide 16 by that would make it equal 4? 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4, so 80 divided by 4 will be the answer. Okay, so if you wanted to do 80 divided by 4, you could just do 8 divided by 4, and then add the 0 at the end. 8 divided by 4 is 2, plus 0 would be 20. So a 4 to 20 ratio is equivalent to a 16 to 80 ratio, and that's all I've got for you for equivalent ratios. All right, we'll see you next time.